Welcome to Transition Puzzle, your go to podcast for navigating transformation, embracing new ideas, and leading through change. I'm Dr. Pamela K. Caldwell, or you can call me Dr. C. And with every episode, we'll explore the art and science of change management. Whether it's driving cultural change, managing resistance, or unlocking innovation in your organization. Change is inevitable, but growth is intentional. Whether you're a leader, consultant, or someone just trying to adapt in this fast moving world, this podcast is for you. Get ready to hear expert insights, real world stories, and actionable strategies to make change work for you, not against you. So let's dive in. Today's topic will be understanding change. We will discuss different types of change and common reactions to change. But before we dive in to the meat of this podcast, we need to go back and we need to begin of one, understanding change, but also changing our mindset. Because normally when we think of change, we may have a negative reaction. This negative reaction may come from we feel like we have done something wrong, not doing something correct, the way we were doing it wasn't right, or we may start to take it personally, like it is us that is wrong or something is wrong with us. However, the first step I feel to understanding change is changing our mindset from that negative to positive. Think of the different changes you may have gone through. Why did you change? What happened? What happened to make that change necessary? Usually it is because we have been doing something for so long that we have seen that process over and over. So we see ways of making it better. Maybe it's becoming more efficient. Maybe it is taking some steps out of that process because it's unnecessary. And so now we have to change that process, whatever that process will be. So first, about understanding change, we have to change our mindset, moving from the negative to the positive. So since we have that, now let's dive deeper in. What are some different types of change that we may experience? We may experience planned. We may experience unexpected or unplanned. It could be personal. It could be professional. It could be large-scale change. Think of this as micro level or economic shifts, cultural change. So these are change on the big scale. So those are the different types of change. So let's look at the first one, planned versus unplanned. When we talk about planned change, this is something that you plan for. Maybe you're planning to buy a house. Maybe you are planning to change the way you eat. Maybe you're at work and you are planning to change a process of how you hire people. Whatever change it is, it's planned. So if it's planned, you will have time to create a plan, communicate this with the people involved, get their feedback, get their thoughts, get some kind of schedule. So yes, you will have fear or resistance, but it's planned. Unplanned are changes that just happen. Okay, it could be small. You're driving to work, there's a wreck, you have to change your route. It could be that you became ill, you had to change something in your lifestyle. Maybe it's a job, maybe it is where you live. It's something unexpected. You have personal, you have professional. Personal could be anything in your personal life, your relationship, your health, the dynamics of your family. Personal, this is your career. Okay, what are you doing in your professional life? Then we have large scale changes. And sometimes these changes you're not a part of, it just happens. So think of different economic shifts, cultural shifts, maybe different laws that have been passed. So these are all the different types of change that you may experience in your life, or you just may experience throughout. So we have discussed the different types of change. Now let's move into talking about the common reaction to change. So when we think of the common reactions to change, first it comes behavior. And the first thing we think about is when someone is being resistant. If someone is having fear, excitement, stress, we like the ones who are excited about change because they're going to be easier to work with when they're excited. But what we focus on is that resistance and what we relate to being resistant to change. We automatically think if someone is resistant, oh, they don't want to change. They're being hard to work with. They're not respecting me as a manager. And we don't take it any further and ask why. What had caused them, or what is causing them to be resistant? Because as a manager, we're like, okay, we're the manager. We've told you about this change. We expect you to change and nothing else. But that's not always so. And it's not always meaning that they don't want to. Sometimes it is fear. Sometimes we will need to take a step back and ask, why? Or better yet, what is causing them to be resistant? Because then when we begin to ask those what questions, we're opening up for dialogue. We're opening the conversation up for having a conversation to understand where the person is coming from and the reason behind this behavior. But in order to ask those hard questions, as managers, we can't take it personal. Or maybe you're not a manager. Maybe it is a family member, a friend, an associate. We can't take it personally. We have to step back, try to see it, and empathize with the person. And those are just a few reactions. But as many reactions as there is out there, that is how people can react to change. But it's not the reaction we need to be worried about. It is the reasoning behind the reaction. And just because they have one reaction doesn't mean that reaction will always be there. Yes, someone could be excited about the change. And they are gung-ho, they are on board, they are like, what do I need to do? But then down the road, it could be a point where fear begins to set in. And they start questioning things. And they start wondering, well, how is this going to affect me? I have questions that I can't get answered. So now fear is starting to set in. And so when fear sets in, then it becomes resistant. But they started out excited. So now, yes, the behavior may change. But that is not an issue we need to dwell on. We need to put our focus on that behavior and what is the story behind that behavior. And we also need to know that just because you start one way and behaving one way, it may not stay the same. So we need to ask those questions. We need to open up the dialogue. Also, there is psychology of change, different stages of change, different emotions that we have gone over. So the common stages that we see in change, one is contemplation. So this is acknowledging that it's a problem and that something needs to happen to change it. Then preparation. What are you doing to prepare for this change? Action. What is that action plan? Maintenance, maintaining that behavior during the change. And then also understanding that these stages of change is not a you start, you stop. It's more of a cycle that you move through. Because as we mentioned earlier in this podcast, that change is inevitable. It is ongoing. And so there is a cycle through this stage. And so one thing I want everyone to come away from the topic of common reaction isn't focusing on the reaction. It is focusing on the behavior. It is focusing on the reason behind the action, the reason behind the behavior, asking the hard questions, setting that conversation up to get dialogue, to begin to tell a story so that you can understand where that person is coming from. So then we can begin, the problem can begin to be solved in order to move through this cycle of change. Well, just to recap, first we talked about the different types, and then we ended with the common reactions. So thank you for joining me in today's episode. That wraps up this episode of Transition Puzzle. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, change isn't always easy, but it's the only path to growth. With the right mindset, strategies, and tools, you can navigate any transformation and come out stronger on the other side. If you found value in today's conversation, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It really helps others find us. And if you know someone going through change, share this episode with them. Got questions or ideas for future topics? I would love to hear from you.